Hey, this is Passy from Passy's World of ICT, the guy with the white hat, with another great VBNet fun and games programming lesson. This one's on computing memes. So we've made a whole bunch of computing memes, and we're going to find ways of selecting them and displaying them on the screen. So let's have a look at what we're doing here. So I'm going to create a number of different meme selectors and then combine them all together into one with 3 different functions at the end as a challenge task. So the first one's going to be, we're going to learn how to use the VBNet open file dialog. And what that does is it works like Windows browser. You can open a file, browse for your pictures, find out which one you want, click it, and then we're going to have it load up in a picture box on the form. So that's going to be using open file dialog, and that's something new we're going to learn, which is going to be useful in future projects. Now, the next program we do will be the top 5 program. And what's going to happen on that one is that as you click the top 5 button, we're going to see meme number 5, then meme number 4, 3, 2, 1, and then it'll keep looping around and we'll see 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We can just keep clicking top 5 and seeing the top 5 over and over. And that's going to use a new VBNet function we haven't done before called image list. So we can get our set of 5 images in an image list and we can pull them out of the image list to process them. And the last one is we're going to use the good old VBNet resources file, like we did with the rock, paper, scissors project, to store all of our 50, we've got 50 meme images, believe it or not, and then we're going to be able to click this random button and randomly get one of the 50 displayed, like this Yoda one here. Write first pseudocode you must, then write the Jedi script. All right, so you have to be a programmer to kind of understand these, but you know, we did our best. So as well as selecting and viewing 50 original computing memes made by Passy, we're going to learn how to use VBNet's open file dialog tool to browse and select files. Then we'll get that image displayed in the picture box. Then program 2 will be using image list to store our top 5 images and getting them displayed. Program number 3 will go back and review how to use the project resources file to store 50 original computing memes, and we'll retrieve a random one and get that displayed. We're going to be reviewing how to use if, else, if, end if in Visual Basic.net, and how to use case statements, which you can use instead of if, else, if, end if. So I don't know if we've done case statements before, but sometimes they're useful and they're kind of simpler than the if, else, if. And we'll learn how to use variables, how to trim out spaces, and how to join different parts of variables together to form an image name so that we can make our random number into an actual image name, which we can retrieve and show as a random meme image on the screen. So it's going to be a lot of useful learning in this project, which we can use in future VBNet Fun and Games projects. All right, so let's get going with meme selector program 1, which is using the open file dialog tool. And as we discussed, what happens is when you click the browse button, which we can't see, but it's on this other gray form here, it's going to open up our folder. We're going to set it up to point to our folder where we've copied all our memes into, and we're going to pick one of them and open up and display it. And the moment you realize that Python code actually does not work in VBNet, a bit like French and Italian are kind of different from each other, believe it or not. Okay, so Open File Dialog tool gives us that standard Windows functionality, and this is what we're learning in this program. Now, Visual Studio 2019, I can't remember where we were at with our lessons. I think we were building them in 2017, but the latest VB Visual Studio is 2019. Now, it's pretty much the same, but just a little bit different when you first start your project. So you'll get this start screen, and on that screen, there'll be these options here. Now, you want to choose the Create a New Project option, all right, when that comes up. And then there's lots and lots of projects you can scroll through in Visual Studio, all sorts of different things you can make in C# and Python and all sorts of things. But we want Windows Forms app .NET framework, and it needs to say Visual Basic here, a Visual Basic Windows desktop programs. That's what all of ours are. So you have to find that one and make sure you clicked on that one. And then once you've done that, click the next button, and then we get to this configure your new project. Now this is important here. There's some really important things you need to do on this. So see in here, the project name will be Windows Forms App 1. Now you don't want to be making every project and calling it Windows Forms App 1 because you won't know which is which. So we need to give it a sensible name. So this one we're calling Meme Generator-P1 because it's program 1. And this is super important as well. If you leave the location as the default location that VBNet wants to use, well then VBNet will just put it anywhere buried in this C drive, and it'll be really hard to find your project later on. So you need to click this triple dots builder button right here and then navigate to where you're saving your work. So we're saving ours in that sort of path, directory path. So we just navigated to that and made sure it can get saved somewhere where we know where it is and we can find it later on. Okay, so once you've got all that happening, you click create and it opens up the Visual Basic.NET IDE, the interface development environment, and you'll see a blank form there. So that's how you get a Visual Studio 2019 Visual Basic program started, and that's the way you need to do it. All right, so once we've got it started, we can work on our form design. And what we've got here is the name of the form we're just leaving as Form 1, so don't mess with that. But we're going to change the text to say Memes 1, and that'll mean up in this left-hand corner here, it'll show Memes 1. Now that back color we're using there, you need to go to the Web Colors on the Web tab and pick a light slate gray. But you could pick your own color if you want to, that's okay. Now the label we've just got there in the label text that it says pick a meme from a folder of memes. So we're just calling that guy LBL heading. The other one here we're dragging out from the toolbox is the picture box, and that's being called pick 1. The size mode on that, make sure you set size mode to zoom. All right, don't use stretch, and don't use the other ones. You need to use zoom for this project. Now that image is the smiley face. That's part of the downloads for this lesson, and the 50 memes plus the smiley face are available as a free download. And if you go to the link in the video description and go to the page where it's got about this project on the Passys World website, you'll be able to find a link and get those 50 memes plus smiley face plus the top 5 ones as well. All right, so they're all free out of Dropbox and you can get those. And we just put that in the picture box just by, there's that little arrow when you click up here and you go choose image and then you import it and load it, and like that we did in previous projects. Then you need a browse button, and that's just font size text and called BTN browse. And then comes the new bit, this open file dialog. So open file dialog, you drag out onto the form, but it goes down the bottom here underneath the form. Now, if you can't see it, you may have to get this blue line and kind of drag it so you can see it. But it's a bit like, remember when we did the timer with the alarm clock and the talking alarm clock, and you drag the timer out, but it ends up going underneath the form? Quite a few of these tools do that in VBNet, and this is one of them. And we can click on that and do its properties later, which we're going to do right now. So we've done all the properties for the form, and we've got our heading, our picture box with the smiley face, and the browse button. Now we're going to click on this open file dialog, and what will happen there is when you click on that, the properties on the right hand side of your screen should change off Form 1, and they should now say open file dialog 1, and we've got all the properties which we can set for an open file dialog. Now make sure we are on that open file dialog 1 and not still on Form 1. If you're on Form 1, you'll have to try click that open file dialog again and get it to switch over in the properties. And we're just leaving the name as open file dialog 1. We're just having the one open file dialog in this program. Now the default extension we're setting is JPG. Most of our memes are JPG files, some are PNG, but we want JPG, which means we only want to open up and show us image type files. So if there were Word files or Excel files or Microsoft Access files in there, we don't want to see them, all right? And that's what comes down in the next one too. This is important the way you code this. It's image file star. Then you need this kind of vertical line. Now where that vertical line lives is usually just above the Enter key on the keyboard, and you have to press Shift to get to it. So there's a backslash and a vertical line. So it's kind of near the Enter key on your keyboard. And then you need to do star.jpg semicolon, that's a semicolon in there, it might be hard to see, then star.png. So I only want it to show JPEG and PNG files while we're browsing for files. Initial directory we're leaving blank. Now that's where you set a file path name to where your images are located, but we're not going to actually put it in the properties here. We're going to code it in the program just to show that you don't have to set properties on the property screen. You can also refer to your your item, like the open file dialog, and set its properties using program code. So we're going to do that. Now, all other properties on there, we've just left at the default values. All right, so that's getting the new thing, the open file dialog set up. Now, the code we need, if you double click that browse button on the form to get into the VB coding screen, that'll build the private sub for the click event on that button. And what we're going to do here is we specify the folder where all images are. So this is where, instead of putting it in the properties, we say, okay, go to that open file dialog one dot, go to that initial directory property and set it to this one. And now, how you can get that pathway, there is an easy way to do it. If you go to your Windows folders and you've got down to that folder where the meme pics are, Windows specifies it like this. Now, if you want to get a directory path name that you can put in a VBNet program, all you do is just click in this blank area just here. And when you click in there, what will happen is it'll change to a path name, and you'll be able to go Control-C to copy that. All right, so that'll come up when you click on the end here. It'll change to a path name and it's selected and highlighted for you. All you need to do is go Control-C, and then you can Control-V it into your program here, which will be a lot easier than trying to hand type it. So here we have to use this try catch processing too. I don't know if we've used that before, because we did find a problem with this open file dialog, that if you go into it the first time and you don't actually pick a file but you choose to cancel, what was happening was the program was crashing because we hadn't selected any image, and so there was nothing for pick one images when it tried to go to this get object. Okay, so what we have to do here is we have to have a try at opening the file dialog. Now, if they pick an image, if it shows the dialog and they pick one, we just put the image that they picked out of that file into pick one image, into the picture box image that's going to display. But then we've got this catch here. So if they don't do this and they click that cancel button, VB will put up an exception which will crash the program. But what this does is it catches the exception and does something else. Instead of crashing, it does something that we tell it to do. And we just tell it, hey, get that smiley face PNG and just put that in there, so that the effect will be that it stays on the smiley face picture in the picture box and the program doesn't crash. When we didn't have that, what happened was the picture box would go blank and the program would crash. Okay, so this fixes that problem. This is a try, catch exception, end try. So when you're having problems with a program crashing with an exception error, this is how you can fix that up in your coding. And we might talk more about that another time, but that's just a quick introduction to it. Look, if you don't understand it, that's okay. Just make sure you code it like that so that your program does not crash. Now, the PDF step-by-step guide also has a full explanation of how that code works. So it's worth getting the step-by-step guides for these videos. Look, maybe it'll cost you a couple of dollars to get it, but it's well worth it. So let's have a look at that. All right, so here's the step-by-step Word doc, and it pretty much shows what we're showing in the presentation, the three different programs we're going to make. Here's the how we made these memes. We used Meme Generator Image Flip, which is a great program. So if you're going to make your own memes, I really highly recommend using that. It's so simple to use and so good. And all of our 50 memes that we made, you can go to this tiny URL link and download them. It's about 9 megabytes, so it won't take for ages to download or to extract and unzip when you get it. So this is all about program one, and see, it's been through all the main stuff we've been through there. It's got the code, it's got some explanation of the code here, some extra stuff, shows the testing for it, and then we're on to program two. And it goes through program two in detail. It gives you code here, and you can save some time too. You can actually copy and paste that code into your program, the bits of it that you need. So maybe you need this bit for the form one load code. And if you're a teacher getting these downloads for your class and you don't want them to be able to copy and paste, you can always just get this Word doc and save it as a PDF and give the students a PDF, and then they'll have to type it in. So that's what we do sometimes with some of our projects. All of the Python course that we did it that way. But these ones here, just to save people time, you can copy and paste the code in. So that's another great reason to get the download. And it takes you all the way through, and then we've got that, okay? Now, fortunately, that's, if you can hear that, that's the dog barking, because he's with me at the moment, and there's these birds in the backyard, and the birds come down and get in the backyard on the other side of his doggy fence, and he just goes nuts barking at them, saying, "Get out of my backyard." So I might have to just yell at him right now. Okay, Murphy, keep quiet. All right, let's see if that works. The voice of God. Click the green arrow to run the program. So yeah, that's the code, and then we run it. And so what happens is you click the browse button, it'll bring up, directly goes to that folder where our meme pics are, because we set that in the code. We can pick one of these guys, and then you click on open to open it up, and then it'll show you your meme displayed on the screen. I'm waiting for somebody to write my program for me. I've got a lot of students that actually have that sort of attitude, I think. Now, just also make sure you test that exception bit that when you run it for the first time, go browse, but then go cancel and don't select anything. And you should see it stays on the smiley face and the program does not crash. And that's program 1 done. So we're 1/3 of the way through. And let's get on to program 2. All right, program 2, we're going to show you, the main thing here is learning how to use VBNet's image list tool for storing a set of images. And they are done in a numbered list. And we're going to look at that and how we can retrieve them out of the list and show them in order 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to show the top 5. Okay, now the only downside of using an image list is it's not really made for displaying pictures like this. The image list, we haven't used them before, but from what we saw in Stack Overflow and other places doing some Googling, it seems like they're used for storing little icons. So if you want your program to have an icon to show your files closed with a closed folder, and then you want, when it opens up, you want to have an open folder show on the screen a little icon. You store all these things in an image list, and you can pull them out of the image list and put them onto your screen to show them as little icons. And they'd also work, an image list would work okay for something like a paper, rock, scissors game, where you had some little images of the paper, the rock, and the scissors, but it's not really made for what we're going to use it for, but we'll use it for it anyway. Because the width and height, the maximum you can use is 320. Now, our images are actually kind of 570 by 250, I think. So we had to sort of proportionally resize them. That's in the lesson downloads, explains all about doing that. But the idea is that we're going to be able to see all these images, and we'll start at 5 and then go 4, 3, 2, 1. That's what we're trying to do in this top 5 program. All right, so let's just show you that program so you can see what we're talking about. All right, so here we are on the top 5 program, and we click top 5 first, and it starts at number 5 and shows us, why you not write pseudocode first? Jackie Chan very angry, and so he should be. You've got to write pseudocode first. Why you write Python code in VBNet program? Because that's a crazy thing to do. That's number 4. Coming in at number 3, y'all got any more of them VBNet library functions? Number 2, I love Granny. She's so cool. You know that first time when you clicked on your form, double clicked it, and then it all disappeared and you saw program code and you're wondering what was going on? Poor Granny, she's stuck in that rut. And number 1, good old Donald Trump. This program has been fully tested by Homer Simpson and is fully functional as signed off by Donald Trump. So that's the idea, and if you keep clicking, it just keeps going 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we can just keep cycling through those top 5 memes for as long as we want to. All right, so that's the idea. That's what we're trying to do in this program. Okay, so the form design is basically the same as program 1, but we're not going to be dragging out an open file dialog. We're going to be dragging out an image list. So here we are. It's the same sort of design. We've got the form name, we've got the label. The picture box is still called pick 1. The thing is, the button's called BTN top 5 and has top 5 on it instead of browse. That's about the only difference there. Now, the new thing is we don't drag out an open file dialog. We drag out an image list, and it's the same sort of deal. You drag it out onto the form, and it actually goes underneath the form, all right? And then we can click on that and do things which we'll show you now. So on that image list at the bottom of the form, you need to click on it, and there's a little arrow in the top right hand corner, a tiny arrow. That's the key to everything. All right, you need to click on that tiny arrow that's just above that image list icon. And when you do that, the first box that'll pop up is image list task. Now, image size. Now you can see it's 1616 here. It's just doing a tiny little ICO file as the default, and the color quality is 8-bit quality, which I think is 256 different colors. All right, so we're gonna obviously need to change that for our memes, because 16 pixels by 16 pixels, we're not even gonna be able to see. So we've kind of maxed it out. 320 is as wide as you can go. And to be proportional, it was 320 and 240. You can check that out in the lesson download to explain exactly how we did that. So we had to up the size. And then the thing is that as you do it on these panels, it actually changes on the properties. So if you look at your properties in Solution Explorer while you're doing this, you'll see that it changes to 32240. And we've also changed 8-bit there to 16-bit, which is high color quality, just to give our memes a little bit better quality. Okay, and that changed over here as well. So they're the two settings you put in that one. And then the next thing we're ready to choose images. So once we've got that set up, we don't click or save or close anything. You just click on this choose images. And what that'll do is it will open up this box, the image collection editor, and there's all these things here that are blank at the moment, but we need to click add because we're going to add our images into this image list. All right, so after clicking the add button, we navigate to the images folder, hold down the control key. So with that add, what happens is you can navigate with Windows to where we've put our top 5 meme pics. Now, we want to do them all at once, not one at a time. So if you hold down control and you go click, so keep your finger on the control button and just go click, click, click. They'll go light blue, and if you click again, it deselects them. But you should be able to get all 5 selected at once using control and clicking with your mouse, left mouse click, of course, and then you click the open button. All right, and after you've done that, what happens is the images get loaded into the image list, and we can see them here. They're numbered 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is a bit strange because that's number 1, Trumpy. So we've got our top 1, our number 1 image. Our images are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because there's 5 of them. But computers start numbering at 0, and this is something you'll have to get used to. The computer numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is a bit confusing. And later on, we're going to do an arrays lesson which will explain this a lot more. But for today, you just need to remember that we number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but the computer does 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the computer's always 1 behind what we are. Okay, so that's something to get to grips with. Now, if we did need to reorder these are actually in the order we want. We want them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. From number 1 to number 5 image. But if we needed to kind of reorganize those, you can use these up and down arrows. So we can get on this top 5 one, keep clicking that up arrow, and it'll keep moving up the stack. And we could move it up the top if we wanted to, and then we can move it back down. We can click on another one. You can shuffle them around with these arrows. That's what they're for. And if we get an extra image or we don't want an image to be top 3, we want a different one, you can remove them and you can add them. And the other thing is you can come back to this later on. You can come back into this image list editor and change things later on as well. Okay, so we're all good to go. Everything's in the right order and we don't need to shuffle around. So we just click OK, and that's our image list all set up. Now, let's do pseudocode first because the memes are even telling us to do that. And what is the basic logic of this program? Well, as we saw when we ran it, we want to be able to keep clicking the top 5 button and cycling through those memes from the bottom one, which is actually index number 4, even though it's the 5th one, okay, up to the top meme of Donald Trump, which is actually index number 1 in that list, okay? So that's sort of image number 1. And this one's image number 4. And we want to go round and round as many times as they keep clicking the button. So the pseudocode kind of works like this. When the form loads, we want to set the image list index number, this number here, the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We want to set that to 4. So when the form loads, we'll set it to 4. So the very first time they click the top 5 button, it's going to show this one, number 4, which is the Jackie Chan 5th position, top 5th one. Okay, so whenever that top 5 button is clicked, this is the other code, we're going to display the meme for the current value of what image list number is. Now, we've done Jackie Chan, this one 4. The next one we want to do is again Jackie Chan, but it's number 3. So we need to do image list index number -1. So that it moves up 1 and it's ready to do this. So it starts off on 4, it'll display Jackie Chan 4. Then this code in here is going to set it to 4 minus 1 is 3. So next time through, when they click top 5, it's going to be ready to do number 3. Now, we just have to be careful that when we get up to number 0 and we're done, we want it to flip around and go back down and start at number 4 again. So when it gets to 0, it'll do 0 minus 1 here, which will be -1. So when that image list index number becomes negative, when it's less than 0, then we just want to bump it back to number 4. So that'll keep us from, when we get up to 0, it'll just set it back to number 4, and we can go 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 again. And we can just keep going up through that top 5 over and over as many times as we click the top 5 button. So all we need to do is change that pseudocode into VB netcode. So this form loading, that'll be when you double click your form and you get into the form load subroutine. This stuff in here, whenever the top 5 clicked, that's for the button click event for that top 5 button. We're going to put in this code here. So what that looks like when we put it into VBNet is this. Now remember, you do have to define a variable for dim. So this image list index number, didn't show it in the pseudocode. And if you're coding in Python, you don't have to define it, but in VBNet you do. So we have to use a dimension statement, dim image list index number as integer, because we want it as an integer number. And then we double click anywhere on our form while we're looking at the form. Just double click in that slate gray kind of area, that blank area, and that'll bring up this form 1 load subroutine. Now in there, we just need to set image list index number equal to 4. And then this other code here, if you double click on the top 5 button on the form, and this should all be familiar from stuff we've done before, this is how we translate that pseudocode into VBNet code. So that it can keep shuffling through that list. So that's the code you need to carefully get typed into your program, and then that processing should work to repeatedly shuffle through the index numbers. And when we test it, we start off, we click top 5, we get the 5th one, the 4th one, the 3rd one, the 2nd one, the 1st one. And then if you click top 5 again, it should go down to this one and then to that one. So it just should keep cycling through and cycling through, going round and round and round, like we saw when we ran the program. So do all that testing and make sure it's thoroughly working, and we're ready for program number 3. All right, so if you want to take a break now for a couple of minutes, just pause the video. You can always come back to the timeline index that we have in the video description and catch up to where you're up to. Okay, so welcome back, and we're starting program 3, the random meme, where we're going to pick a random meme. So in program 3, we're just going to randomly choose a meme out of those 50 memes that we're going to have loaded up in the resources folder, and just pick one of them at random and display it on the screen. So the form design is the same as programs 1 and 2, except we're just calling it random meme of the day. Here we've got our picture box and our smiley face. We've got a button called random, BTN random, and font size 12. And we don't need to drag out any special things from the tools this time. So we don't need an open file dialog. We don't need an image list, because you get into project resources a totally different way. It isn't a tool that you drag out onto the screen. And we have done this before. We did this in the rock, paper, scissors lesson, and hopefully you can remember some of it. Now the meme images, we've got to add them to the project resources folder. So what you do is you click up the top of your screen where it says project. So we got, file, edit, view, project, and we choose the very bottom one, the spanner, okay, the tools, random meme properties. Now what that'll do is it'll come up with application properties first. Now we don't want them. We need to go down to resources and click on resources. And when you do that, it should show that smiley face, which you've already loaded up into the picture box, because when you load something up to go in a picture box, it actually gets stored in the VBNet project resources folder. So I got our first image there. We just need to get our 50 meme images in here as well. So anyway, we change that to resources, and then what we're going to look at next is you click this down arrow here because you want to add some resources in. Okay, so that's the next thing to do. Click that arrow, and when we click that arrow, what happens is when you do add resource, you can do add existing file. Now, a lot of times people think, okay, add, what do I want to do? I want to add an image, a new image. Yeah, I want to have a new image in there, another image. But that is actually not the one to click. If you click that, it kind of takes you into this paint-like program for drawing and making your own image. Okay, so it's not actually new image. Do not click that one. You need to click add existing file. Okay, so make sure you click add existing file. When you click that, what happens is you can navigate to where we've got those meme pictures stored. Now, rather than adding them in one at a time and repeating this add existing file 50 times, what you can do is you can just control click and get those images. But what's even quicker is you click your first one and then you just hold down control and hit the letter A. Control A for control all, that we want to select all the images in that folder. So just click on the first one, then do control A, control, and then hold down control and push the letter A to get all of them, and you'll see all of them highlighted. Then you click the open button. Now what'll happen then is you should see that there was that smiley face was in that folder as well. And it says, do we want to replace the one we've already put there for our picture box? And the answer is no. So on this one, make sure you click no. We've already loaded that smiley face into our picture box, and that's what we're looking for. it's linked to that picture box. So just click no. We don't want to recopy it. We've already got it there. What we want is those other 50 things which are also in that folder, the memes. All right, now when you click no, what will happen is all 50 of these guys will come in and they'll just be highlighted blue, all selected. And all you have to do is just click anywhere and that blue selection will stop. Okay, and we won't have that there. And what you'll also notice is if you look at the Solution Explorer on the right-hand side, in Resources, if you click that triangle and open it up, you'll see that all 50 of your meme images should be there. So check that you've got numbers 1 to 50 there, that you actually got them all, and make sure that all 50 lesson download images are there. It should be easy because they're numbered from 1 to 50, and just check out that's all okay. And then all we have to do is actually save these. So even though we brought them in and they're there and you think, okay, that's cool, we've done that. It's not actually like that in VBNet. You can see how there's an asterisk next to this resources, like they do in Adobe products, like when you haven't saved something recently. And that means you need to save it. So this asterisk on the end is kind of a standard thing in application packages, telling you need to save something. And the way you save it is there is no sort of save button or anything up here to save it. It should really just be a save icon or something, but the way you've got to do it is you've got to close this. So it's got a star next to it. When you close it, that's when it saves it. So when you click that X, what happens is it says, do you want to save those changes? And you certainly do. So make sure you click the save button and save them, all right? So that's a little bit tricky for the saving. Now, if you need to delete a resource, or you want to add more in, or you want to change things, go back to the rock, paper, scissors lesson because we go through all that in detail. And we're not going to revisit here because all we need to do is get those 50 images loaded up. But if you have got some issues or want to know how to do it, it's all in rock, paper, scissors, okay? So that's the lesson to go look at. Now, the pseudocode logic for the random meme program, it's quite simple, really. All we're going to do is we display the screen form with that smiley face on it. Now, every time they click the random button, they press that or they click it, maybe we should say is clicked there, use the VBNet random number generator. So I've got to make a random number between 1 and 50 because there's 50 images named from meme 1 to meme 50. Then we've got to find the meme with that number in the resources file, say come here, image number 24, grab meme 24, and then we need to just get that into the picture box and display it on the screen. So that pseudocode is like really simple. But it's actually not as simple as you'd think when you try and do it in VBNet. So there's 3 different ways we can do it in VBNet, but in the end we want to choose the most compact, efficient, best way of doing it, which isn't the easiest to understand, but it is the best way. And let's have a look at what these 3 ways are. Okay, so we learned how to make random numbers in the dice rolling program. So before we look at those 3 ways, actually, let's just get our random number from 1 to 50 sorted out. How we do that is we just have the randomized to seed things before we start. And because we want to do a random number between 50, we use the standard random number coding here, and we're plugging in a 50 here. So we'll get a number between 1 and 50, and we've called it int random meme number for the variable in our program. Now, we want to display the random number just to check this is working. So we're just putting a debug message in here. So we're going to comment this out later. So what we've got is message box. Now you have to string up a number because remember a number when you're using it in the program is in that 01011 thing and you can't display it on the screen or work with it. So you have to use that str function on the number. So that should be familiar to you from previous programs. So we do that so that we can display them, and we'll do a few test runs to make sure this is working. All right, so here we are, random meme of the day. We click random. It tells us from that debug message the random meme number is 29. So we go and click the random button again and we keep clicking it and see what happens. Okay, we got number 2, we got number 49, we got number 30, we got number 32, and we got number 17. So that is all really sweet, and it seems to be coming up with those random numbers between 1 and 50, so we know that's all working correctly. So this is the agile methodology. That was our first bit. Code a little bit, test it. So the random number stuff's all sweet. We've got that working. Now we can look at these 3 ways of working out how to map that random number that we've got to the meme images and get the meme image displayed. All right, so we could use a really long if-else if. So we say if the int random meme number came out as 1, well then in pick one image we need to go and get meme 01, and that's the one we're putting in there. If the int random number came out 2, we need to get meme 2. If it came out 4, we need to get meme 4. If it came out 5, we need to get meme 5. If it came out 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way to 50. If it was 50, we need to get meme 50. So that's going to be 50 kind of statements there, but admittedly, once you've got these ones done here, you could sort of slab, copy and paste them and renumber them, and you could get that coded in, and it certainly would work, but do not do it that way. That is not the way we're going to do it. We're going to do it a much smarter way, okay? So that's the first way, using if and else if statements, and of course remember to have an end if at the end of everything. All right, now the second way is we can use case. Now I'm not sure if we looked at the case statement before. The case statement is something you can use instead of if, else, if, and sometimes it's more compact and easier to code. So what we do is we say, okay, let's look at the case or the situation for that int random meme number. If that number, if it is a 1, let's put meme1 in. If it's a 2, let's put meme2. If it's a case that number came out 3, let's put meme3 into the picture box to display. But again, we'd need 50 of these, but at least it's a bit quicker to copy and paste them than it was with the if, else if sort of stuff, okay? So it might be quicker and easier to do, but you still need 50 of them, and that's still not a lot of coding. And then of course we need an else case at the end, that something went wrong here, that we didn't find the particular random meme for that particular random number. All right, so a little bit of error handling there as well. So that's still too long, so do not do it that way. We're not going to do it that way. So that was the second way. The third and final way is the way we're going to do it. Now the third way, what we're going to do is we're going to build the name of the meme ourselves, because basically we know that everything in our folder starts with M-E-M-E, and then for the name, it just has, like, if it's number 2, it's meme02. If it's 5, it's meme05. If it's 25, it's meme25. So basically, we just need to take the word meme, M-E-M-E, and then attach the random number to the end of it, and then we've got the name of the image that we need. All right, so this is a code we're going to use to build the name ourselves. So we need to get a string version of the random meme number. So we're just dimensioning that. And we're stringing up that integer number, you know, that internal memory computer jargon into something we can read, and that's going to be string random meme number. So we've got our random number that's going to go on the end of the name, but there is a little problem. When VBNet does that, because it's an integer, it could have a plus or minus sign on it. So when it strings it, it leaves a space there where the plus or minus sign used to be. And so we need to take that space out that's sitting in front, because like if you've got a random number 25, when you string it and you display it, you'll actually see space 25. So I've got to take that space off the front, and we use the trim statement to do that. The trim is like trimming the fat off the meat, and you can either, when you do trim on something, any spaces that are all up the front, it gets rid of them, and any spaces that are all tacked onto the end, it gets rid of them. So it just leaves you your middle stuff, okay? So any spaces at the front are taken off, and any spaces at the back are taken off. So if we take that string random number and trim it, we'll get rid of that space on the front, so that's really good. And we can start building our string image name. And here we actually need some special coding when we do that last bit of joining up, because notice our numbers that are 1 to 9 are actually meme0, then the random number. So it's meme0, then the 3. Whereas these other ones that are double digits, we just use meme, meme, and the random number's 10. Meme, and maybe the random number was 38, so we need to get meme38.jpg. So we need to assemble together the word meme plus 38. All right, so if the random number is greater than 9, if it's like meme10 or meme38, then we need to just get this word meme. So we're going to string together meme, and we're going to add on what the random number was, okay, after we trimmed that space out of it and stuff. And so that'll build the name meme38, all right, which we need. But if it's not greater than 9, say the random number's 5, it's going to call it meme0 and then put the random number of 5 on. So it'll come out meme05 or meme03, and I'll be able to find these 1 to 9 memes. So there's a little bit of fiddling around there, just because some of them we've called them meme0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3 up to 0, 9, but that should all work. And that way we've built the name. And you notice this code's a lot shorter and more compact. So this is the one we're going with. So this is the way to do your code. And if you carefully code it like that, and then run it, what should happen was we did a lot of tests here, but these are some of the random memes we've got. Why do I have to write VB code? Because robots can't do it, and the kid's crying because VB is really hard for a little kid. He's too little. He should be starting with Python Turtle Graphics or something. So let's do Windows Paint instead, son. We won't do VB today. Take a look at that. Bugs and crashes everywhere. Not sure if I should use if else or the case statement. And we just saw how we could use both of those to do the same job. So that's relevant. One does not simply make a great Hangman name. That's true, because Hangman's quite a complicated game. We've made one of those in Python, and we're going to make one in VBNet. So make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on that lesson that's coming up on how to make a great Hangman game. But it is a bit of work. Be warned about it. Write the pseudocode first, then translate it into the real code, and that's what you should do. And you saw us doing that in this lesson, working out the basic logic and then trying to work out how we translated it into actual VBNet code. And if I get the community version, poor old granny, can I play bingo on my computer? Because yeah, you get together with a community and you're an old person, you play bingo. That makes sense. Right, onto the challenge task, our very last thing. Now the challenge task is we've built those 1, 2, 3 programs, and you learned some really good stuff about how to handle images in programs, which will be useful in future lessons in this Fun and Games course. So you have to combine them all together into one program. So we'll have one screen where you can click to browse, random, or do top 5. So if you click browse, you should be able to, open your file dialog, get to the one you want. Everybody gets to download visuals. Oh, good on you, Oprah. Then we've got random. I don't always initialize variables, but when I do, I use a dim statement. Right, so yeah, maybe programs in Python a lot where you don't have to initialize variables. But remember, in VBNet, you've always got to have a dim statement to initialize your variable or your program will not work. So that gives you a random one. And then, of course, you can flick through your 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, number 1, Donald Trump, vote 1, Trump. And that's it. So it'll do all 3 programs just from the one main screen. So what the go would probably be to take the last one we've done, program 3, the random one, and just keep working on that so that you can add in the program 1 stuff and add in the program 2 stuff all to that program 3 one, and then you'll have the whole kind of 3-in-1 deal here, which is the challenge task, and that will consolidate your learning and be all good. Okay, so remember the Visual Basic Fun and Games course is on our website, and that tells you exactly what order you need to do the projects in. Okay, so over on the Passie's World of ICT website, you click on the VB Games tab up here at the top. That'll take you into VB Games. Now, we've been talking about projects you should have done previously. We were speaking in particular about the rolling dice lesson, and that taught us how to do random numbers. Okay, so you should have already done that lesson. And we talked a lot about the rock, paper, scissors, which gives you the full rundown on using the VBNet resources folder for images that you need in a project. So it's really important that you do all of these and you do them in the order which they are here. Okay, and the new one which you've just got here, the meme selectors will slot in there. All right, so, and remember also to subscribe to our channel, of course, because we're always bringing out new programs, and you really want to see when that Hangman program comes up. And there are a lot of skills you learned in this lesson. So give it a big thumbs up and say thanks, Passie, for teaching us all those skills. It was an absolute pleasure. And then subscribe to the channel to get those video updates. And also consider getting some of those resources. When you click in the video description, there is downloads on those Passie's World of ICT website pages, and consider getting some of them and, helping the guy out to, just buy one so I can buy a cup of coffee. All right. And subscribe, and we'll see you in the next lesson.